Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Deepika signing in for the last industrial track session for today. Alternate professions. You could be an RJ, you could be a VJ, a vlogger, or a YouTuber, or a wildlife photographer. I've got very interesting set of panelists and also the moderator, a very interesting personality. And I take the honor and privilege to introduce them to you. Let me start by our moderator, Dr. Ravi Hebali. He is a consultant surgeon and wildlife photographer, author, and artist. So, surgeon by the first profession, he is a well known name in the field of dentistry. He has a unique dynamic combination of skills and creativity in his work, and that makes him stand out. Sorry. While pursuing a successful career in dentistry, managing his family practice from about 4 decades, he has always driven, by organizing meaningful events and programs with the benefits of colleagues and specialty. He has been quite active in Indian Dental Association and Association of Oral Surgeons of India and has held unique programs for the fraternity. He is currently the counselor from India for the International Association of Oral Surgeons. He is the key person in the organization for the conferences, which was held in Bangalore during 2007. He has also won international appreciation for being an excellent, outstanding organizer and a coordinator. Well, sir, there is a lot to read about you. Ladies and gentlemen, don't miss this part what I'm going to read now for you. A very interesting thing that is coming up. He has, apart from his professional achievements, he has always believed in following his dreams and passion, which has unveiled his hidden creativity and talent. Guess what? He has also discovered the love for nature, world life, and traveling in past few years. He is now seriously into wildlife photography and runs his own company called Magic Carpet Wildlife Travels Limited, based in Nairobi, Kenya, which regularly organizes wildlife and photography session tours to Kenya and Tanzania. He enjoys teaching and has also worked at few dental colleges. So very interesting. I mean, I wonder if you need any help or you need any apprentice for your work as a wildlife. I'm already up for it. My hands both are up. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to a very interesting panelist. We start with Mr. Darshan Jain. He is GM Marketing Crowd Foresting. Welcome, sir. I also have with me Miss Isha Ghoshal. She's HR Operations Specialist. Welcome, Miss Isha. Mr. Jinson Abraham, co-founder Urban Affairs Creators Private Limited. Welcome, Mr. Jinson Abraham. And the last I have with me, Mr. Giridhar Pai, Managing Partners with Giridhar Pai Associates LLP.
Hi.
So thank you for being here, and I really look forward, and I'm sure our youth is excited to know when this box is going to open, and a lot of exciting things are going to come in reality. So let's not make them wait, and let's open it for them. Ravi, so over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepika. That was a very nice introduction, and
Thank
makes
you.
me happy and start off with a smile. And thank you, EDC, Sunil, Ravi, and my good friend Shashi for having me over, being good friends, and I'm very happy they thought of me to be part of the session. Well, we will kickstart the session. The moment these guys told me that we want you to moderate a session on alternate career, I kind of thought, I'm not very happy with this word alternate career. It is a career by itself. Because by calling it an alternate career, we are alienating it. We are pushing it to a side. Career does not mean you are a doctor, you are an advocate, you are an engineer. Whatever you do from your heart, with your mind, and with dedication, and if that brings in some kind of a revenue, that's a career. Somebody who sells vegetables on the street also has a career. An artist has a career. A sculptor has a career. So I don't want to call it an alternate career, but yes, there are options today available from the mainstream career. We will call that as mainstream rather than calling this as an alternate career. Let us not put ourselves a little lower by calling it an alternate. We are also on the mainstream. So apart from the mainstream things, there are a lot of options available today for the youngsters to choose what they want to do. Unlike me, I was forced into dentistry by my parents, which I wasn't more interested. I wanted to be a photographer 25, 30 years back, but I was forced into dentistry. I don't want something like that to happen for the today's generation. If they want to do something, one of my good friend's daughter wanted to do photography. He called me up and said, "Hey, she wants to do photo." I said, "Just encourage her. Let her explore." That's how it works. So I would, sort of saying that there are a lot of options today available. Presently, with the kind of exposure we have, the technology we have, the connect we have, and with everything over the internet, people can choose. If somebody has an interest, has a liking, and if they are good, get good support from their folks, from their parents, I think they should pursue. But then it's a package. It just doesn't come like a job. You do a 5-year engineering and then you go get a job. It doesn't come that way. It has got a lot of ingredients to come out with a good dish. A lot of things like hard work, commitment, and focus, and then not wavering. And then if somebody can put all these things together, yes, anything can be made into a career today. Let me hear from my panelists what their thoughts are about an alternate career. Isha, shall we start with you? Ladies first.
So actually, yeah, because I come from a HR background, I have a different understanding of the topic itself. So when you say about alternate career options, just like you said, sir, that it is not exactly an alternate, but it's more of an unconventional job, like apart from the traditional. So back in, at least even 10 to 15 years back, people used to think engineering, medicine, accountancy, these are the traditional paths that people should tread upon. And they were the most sought after jobs. But these days, I think we millennials and even people who are coming in, they like currently the youth, they do not prefer having a set 9 to 5 desk job or a 9 to 5 job and just be happy with the decent pay that they're getting. But they want to explore more. They want to do something unconventional, something which is out of the box. And also luckily enough, the options or the opportunities that are available these days are also multiple. So people earlier didn't have an idea of what are the different options they can look into. They were always fed with the thought that yes, you have engineering, you have medicine, and those were the mindset. But now people know that okay, RJing can be a career option, VJing, blog writing, or content creation, photography, even wine tasting or pet grooming. These can be career options. People, at least when I was a child, even I didn't know. At least my parents never told me that these are the career options. I was always told, okay, you have to study. You have completed science till 10th, then you take up science in 12th, and then you move for graduation and post-graduation. Those were the general setup. But now the pattern is changing. But also with the changing pattern, and we see majority of youth coming and they want to take up something which is not the traditional way, and they want to go for the other options. When the traffic of people want to take up the unconventional uh, job options, the question arises, what is the skill set? And also just not your, so probably an XYZ person can say I'm passionate about photography, but if that person doesn't have the skill sets or doesn't put in enough efforts or doesn't upskill themselves to be competent enough for that job, it can be any job, you ultimately cannot take that as a successful career. Also just passion, like I said, just passion cannot suffice to everything. It has to be complemented with a set of skill sets and competencies, and that can be definitely groomed over the period of time. But that effort or that intent of that person should be there to upskill themselves. It cannot be that okay, I have learned something today, and I keep getting revenue out of that learning. You cannot. And that is true for all career options, just not for alternate career, but for any career. You have to upskill yourselves every day because new technology, new things are coming up at like it is the world is evolving, and if we can't keep up the pace, we we lag behind. And so just to give you an example, so people take up blog writing, and if you just open, you will see multiple blogs every day. But if you go through the blogs, you would actually, find just a handful which are what they read. So which means that there are a lot of people who want to do it, but are they all of them equally competent? Are all of them equally skilled? And that is something which needs to be questioned, and that is something where the focus should be. Uh, just you take, so you are a photographer, and I think there are, today's generation, I think everyone who has a DSLR just thinks that I'm a photographer, just till the point that the manual mode is on, and then you get to see who is an actual photographer. So just on a lighter note, but yeah. I mean, I have seen, even during my college days, I have seen my friends and a lot of juniors and seniors who were like, just because they have a camera, they feel like, yeah, I'm a photographer. And but when you ask them, okay, can you just switch off the auto mode and switch on to the manual mode, and can you teach me? I have approached a lot of them asking, can you teach me? And they were like, what is there to teach? You just have to switch on the auto mode and click photos. I'm like, okay. So I think even these are the things which, as I think, Gladwell's thesis says that 20,000 hours, it's a 10,000 hours of practice. So the 10,000 hours you would require to master a skill, or be perfect in a skill. But that's in today's world, it's a little dicey, because if you spend 10,000 hours just doing or learning one skill, when would you learn the others? Or when would you, keep learning more? So the current study and the current papers which have come out, they also focus on the point that if you invest 20 hours of intensive practice, you are good enough to learn a skill so that you can do your job well and you can earn a living out of it. So 20 hours is is a practical time that can be invested by a person, and not stick to 10,000 hours. Also, so I think this is where I want to put my point for today, that definitely alternate options or alternate career options, that, as they say, or the unconventional careers, they are definitely a boon to the society and boon to the youth, who get an opportunity to listen to their heart, what they feel is correct and what they want to pursue, rather than being pressurized by the society or by the parents to take up some other profession. But they should put in enough effort to learn that, and just not take it for granted that it's my passion so I can do it. Equal efforts and equal upskilling is important even for this. And majorly they should learn just not to be perfect at it, but also learn how to commercialize their skills. That is very important. Otherwise, if you don't earn a revenue out of it, at the end of the day, you keep doing it, but then how would you survive? What is the mode of survival? So you need to know how to commercialize that too. Yeah, I think
Yeah, thank you, Isha. That was well put. As you rightly said, just not listening to the heart and the passion, skill set is something that's very important. And today, we have a lot of courses that are happening. There are online courses, there are tutorials, there are YouTube videos, and there are actually offline courses that are there where one-to-one people teach. And people can learn from professionals. So there's a lot of scope for learning. And like, you don't go to a formal school, spend 3 years to learn whatever. You can learn small things from different people. And
exactly.
And what happens here is we learn on the go. We learn with experience. So a lot of things, it's not that you learn theory, go and practice. No. We learn few things theory to understand what it is, whatever the skill is. Then as we go, we start learning. So the learning is a continuous process. And when it comes to skill set, I have a small quick thing. There was this very famous photographer who was invited by a socialite in New York for dinner. So as he goes to her house for dinner, she meets him at the door and she says, "Oh, you are a great photographer. I love your photographers. Which camera do you have?" he just keeps quiet. And then, she serves him a fantastic dinner. On the way out, he tells, that was a fantastic dinner. Which stove do you have? So it's not about what you have, it's
Yeah.
about the skill set. See, we need to have the skill, then you can put it into action. So we will go to Mr. Giridhar Pai, and let me have your thoughts on the alternate career, Mr. Pai.
Yeah, like you said earlier, yeah, alternate or unconventional, these are terms which can be used for options that we are looking at today. And what's not conventional keeps changing. For example, in 1986, when I joined the University of Agricultural Sciences, I opted for forestry. And that was quite unconventional then, because the course itself had started a year earlier. So we had family friends tell us that this was a very wrong career choice because one would end up in the forest. Anyway, I am one who likes to keep trying unconventional, that is as per society's norms. So I studied forestry, but then I didn't opt for going to the Indian Forest Service because that was the conventional route. In fact, many of my classmates are now Indian Forest Service officers. So I also wanted, I always had this challenge that I wanted to study different things, and universities didn't allow that. Whereas in a country like the US, you could be majoring in 2 different subjects. You could be even completing in less time than the 4 years that others would take. So I then pursued horticulture, and I did a master's in that in the US. And when it came to starting to work, I again went for an unconventional route. I was a food safety manager. This was in the mid 90s. And in those days, food safety was not even very common. And I worked for an Indo-American company. So in the US, they use a different term for food safety. They call it sanitation. So I was actually a sanitation manager. But we had to change that title because in India, nobody would understand what's a sanitation manager. Whereas in the US, in a food factory, a sanitarian or a sanitation manager is a very important person, because if there are violations of sanitation norms, then they can even stop the factory from functioning. So I did that, and then I went into an industry which is not very common for professional work, which is the pest control industry. So I've spent most of my time working in pest control industry. But I have been pursuing some passions on the side. So my point to students is this: we ought to go with what is called as the side hustle. I think this is a term which is coming into vogue nowadays. A lot of people have passions. For some, it could be baking. Some, it could be keeping pets. Some, it could be gardening. So having these hobbies turn into small businesses. So there is a writer by the name Chris Guillebeau. I like his book. There's this famous book called The $100 Startup. So a lot of big businesses and a lot of famous businesses start with an investment of less than $100, which is just about 7,000 Indian rupees. And there, the different components come in, like Ravi and Isha have spoken of passion. Yeah, you firstly need the passion for any kind of hobby, and then you back it up with perseverance and patience. And like Isha was saying, there ought to be a monetary benefit too. So, so my 2 points for all of us here are: one is convert your passions into side hustles. You could be doing small businesses, micro enterprises with those, and those it's like testing the water. And once those work out, then you can scale it up. See, the other thing with these unconventional careers, or any career based on personal skill, is that the returns are very disproportionate. I'm not saying that anybody with talent will become a billionaire. That's not the point. The point is, in a typical job, what happens is you basically get compensated for the work that you put. So it's a direct correlation. Whereas in any kind of talent or skill-based output, what happens is you are out, like if someone were to write and if the book went on to sell very well, the returns would be outsized, meaning they do the writing once, but then the selling happens over a lifetime, and the earnings could be huge. So that's one of the things which is attractive about unconventional career. But like two of the earlier panelists said, I agree that it's a lot of hard work and commitment, and making a career or making some kind of monetary return come out of personal passions, it's not easy. So you got to think through and then pursue it. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Pai, you rightly said that, we have to kind of convert it into some kind of a revenue. But let me tell you, like the mainstream careers or the conventional careers, here we don't get a paycheck every month.
Correct.
So it's kind of, you have to build. So initially there might not be any revenue, it will only be kind of investment into education, into your equipment, into learning more things. So it could be kind of investment in the beginning till you start, stabilizing yourself. And there are just like, there are disappointments, things like that happens, but you always have to take it in the right spirit. Take it, sportively, take it in the right spirit. Don't get too disappointed, don't go low, and then money doesn't come. But eventually, once you learn the art, learn the craft, and then you're following your passion, putting your dedication, hard work, everything, it'll come multifold, Well, to start with, I was doing very well, as a practitioner. The next month, there was nothing that was coming in. But over a period of time, what I have put in, the efforts and the commitment, we are reaping good now. So initial gratification is not there, but long term, definitely yes, it will, provided all the ingredients are put in to bring out the good dish. From here, I think I'll ask Jinson to share his thoughts now.
Yeah, so when we hear about an alternative profession, we always think that it is actually following your passion or doing your hobby as a mainstream, converting your hobby to your profession. I think the process of that is not actually the way people think it is, because I'm supposed to be a priest. My parents want to become myself to be a priest, and then I had to go to engineering to actually convince them that I am doing something else as a professional thing. And then working there working as a software engineer for 8 years actually made me realize a lot of things. So we actually realize your capability at some point of your life. That could be some various pressures in your job or whatever things around. So realizing is the point where you actually think you need an alternative profession or a better profession or some kind of a hobby or a passion out of it. So then we have to think, that could be at any age, like Ravi sir, like he started like 8 years before. So there is no age limit for it. It can be at your younger age, it can be in your mid-20s, or it can be when you join the job. So since the digital world has opened up and there's a lot of options in front of everyone, so anyone can easily be switched to any other profession. We know a lot of TikTokers, Isha might know better. So they've changed the whole profession to digital content creation. And also the way people measure your skills are not academic there. So you practice something, you make it, you practice your talent and make it as a skill, and then it as a profession. So there you are not getting measured with your academic score or whatever you had in the past. So there is a simple principle which I figured out for myself, is that evaluate your skills, and then when evaluate and then realize what you're good at. It could be some writing, it could be photography, it could be something else. So it's not just creative careers which we have options. So you can be a social media manager, you can be a good copywriter if you're good at writing captions. proofreading, freelance. You can do freelance automotive designs, and a lot of things are there. So realize what you're good at, and it should be connected with your passion. Definitely, it should be. So then practice it. So practice means that you don't need to quit your current profession and do it. I started my photography when I was working as a software engineer, and it is the 5th year I bought my camera, and I practiced for 3 more years and did it as a hobby. And then I quit my job and started the full-time photographer. So that is what the process. And then we reach a point that when we can make money out of it. So since I was not good at dealing with finances and money, I found an associate or a partner to work with me. And then when we started it as an organization, but we are selling the skills which I practice. So you being the producer there, and we need some people around us to make it as a business proper. Most of, not all the jobs I'm talking about, some things you need to collaborate with the right people and to make it a revenue model. So then you decide that which is better. Maybe here you're doing your passion and you're getting paid out of it. Then you can quit the previous job or balance it out and move completely. So this is the process which I've figured out myself. So
Yeah, Jensen,
Yeah.
somebody has to, once they start following an alternative, whatever their interest is, if they are already in a job.
Yeah.
For a beginner, it's a different thing. But since you are an engineer, you are doing a job as an engineer, and you are moving into another thing. So till you stabilize in the new field that you have chosen, it's always better to hang on to what you're doing, so that there will be some kind of a support. Otherwise, you'll be out of nowhere.
Yeah. So it's easy to say that you have to follow your passion, but you always think about how to balance it out and how to make it happen. So that is where the patience, and we need more time to work on it, things like that coming.
No, patience here is the key ingredient. If
Yeah.
you're looking at it, not only in the alternate career that we're talking about, patience has to be there in every walk of life.
Yeah.
The patience starts from the time you wake up in the morning. You need to be patient from the time you wake up in the morning, either with your spouse or with your children, or with your
Every time.
or with your boss, or with your neighbor, or with your driver. Patience is the key. If you want to take care of your heart for a longer time, you want it to pump till the last, you better be patient. There's no second thought about it. So patience is something that each one of us has to have. When it comes to spending time when we're learning all these new things, like there is a saying, if you have 9 hours to chop a tree, spend 5 hours sharpening the axe. So we need to have a lot of homework that needs to be done. We need to really plan well. Of course, today there are a lot of people who help in planning. You can always talk to your professional career colleagues, your seniors, your godfathers, who are your parents. So planning is very important. Somebody sees, okay, Ravi's pictures are good. Tomorrow I'll be a wildlife photographer. It doesn't happen that way. They need to see first plan. Is it for me? Is this for me? Do I have it? Only when you have all these things, then you start planning. Then things will start planning and falling in place. These are not the things that can be done instantly. It's not like your Maggi noodles. It doesn't happen that way. It's an elaborate cooking where your wife or your mother cooks in the kitchen. There is an elaborate way. It's not any fast food. So that's how it is. A lot of planning is important, and you need to really rake your brains, talk to people, and also understand what the scenario is, understand what the future is. Don't just go by the glamour that you see Instagram or on Facebook, because that's a fake book. Everybody only shows up the best. Nobody shows the bad things there. It's only good things that are shown there. Okay, now with this, let me go to Darshan and have his thoughts on your net career.
You're mute, Darshan.
Unmute.
Hi. So I had cleared all my subjects of 4th year, but I had one subject pending from my 3rd year engineering. So I thought I have maybe about 4 to 5 months time by the time I clear and I can roam around. But my mother had different plans. She got hold of a friend of ours, family friend. She put me into servicing of computers. So I started my career with Future Computers forcefully. So when I went for service calls, more than servicing the machines, I ended up selling them a new product. So the owner was Jayesh Mehta, who said, Darshan, more than servicing, you are better in sales. Why don't you switch more to sales? So that is when he identified what my talent was. I got into sales. I started doing very well. Then after 2 years with Future Computers, I joined a company called Motwane Private Limited. They were providing online teaching systems. Those were the days where we did not have any of the current mobile technologies or internet connections. So using that teaching system, all the projects that I handled for Motwane for about 4 years was mainly through the tendering process. The big companies, be it the Neyveli Lignite Corporation or the ITPL when it started at the beginning, be it the BHEL New Campus or the Parapana Agrahara Jail, all these people, I have the plans of them. They said we want an online teaching system. So there it was more of 25% of technical and 75% of commercial work. So I learned the entire tendering process there. Then after working for a few years with them, then I joined a company called Padmini Polymers Limited. I was heading their South India operations, and they were the manufacturers of CDs and DVDs. So we had our manufacturing facilities in Ghaziabad. I was heading their South India operation and catering to the corporate sector. Sometime around 2000, Padmini Polymers had to shut their shop, and all my clients forced me to start a factory on my own. So one important thing, how it was easy to start my own business was I was working for a company as if I owned it. So that was a very important thing. I worked for a company as if I owned it. So that when I started my own business, I did not feel any different or difficult at all. For about 20 years, I ran my own business. Then I saw CDs and DVDs were getting obsolete. Somewhere around the tapering period of the CD DVD business, I had a lot of time and very less work. So I thought, okay, let me utilize that time into. I started running. I was about 76 kilos then. Then my nephew said, the first thing you have to do is reduce your weight if at all you have to run, because every step you carry that extra weight. So, okay, I thought and reduced my weight. I completed my 10K, 21K, and then ended up completing my marathons also. And over a period of a few years, learning the skill of running, I was so passionate. So, as Jinson rightly said, collaborate with the right people. So it so happened was my coach was highly knowledgeable in terms of implementing a training program. I was very good in guiding people with the same program to many number of newcomers. So that is how we went on expanding the location. We were in one location with 20 people. I said, okay, why don't we take the same training program to various locations in Bangalore, because people from far off places cannot come. And those were the pre-COVID days where traffic was a major problem in Bangalore. Okay, so then people were not ready to come to Jayanagar. I went to HSR layout. I established a location there. I went to Malleshwaram, established a location there. So establishing a location is going to that location, uh, teaching the newcomers the skill of running long distances. That is how we develop. In the last 6 years from Jayanagar Jaguars, we have trained at least over 5,000 runners to run long distance. And trust me, most of them, more than 90% of them had never run even 100 meters in their career earlier, in their lifetime earlier. We have made them run marathons. So that is how I have been responsible in training people to run marathons. Then came a friend of mine who was also my client for a very long time. Then he said, he showed me interest about the cloud foresting. So now I have got interested in that. I thought, okay, let me take up this also and give it a try, because this is something which is required for the next generation. Fitness is one thing that we all as an individual require it for a lifetime, but this forest and the trees and other things are something that is important for us to leave it to the next generation also. So that is how now I got into crowd foresting. So one thing what I have learned throughout is I was very passionate about sales. Whether it was computer, whether it was a paging system, whether it was selling customized CDs and DVDs, whether it was training people for running marathons, and now foresting. So I was passionate about sales. I have been doing that throughout my career.
So thanks, Darshan. So it all boils down to number one, keeping fit, stay healthy, and have a passion in whatever you do. Now
Yes.
let me tell you something, this is purely for the youngsters,
True.
especially who are embarking on new kind of career and things like that. See, competition is very healthy, it is good. But in these professions, we should not bring in jealousy. So a lot of people are jealous, especially when we look at these alternative careers. There are a lot of people, even I mingle a lot of photographers, artists. I'm an artist myself. So between us, there is never a small iota of jealousy. Each one praises the other. So for a healthy community, we need to tell the youngsters that competition is healthy, but never think the other person is doing better than you, and don't belittle yourself. And the other thing is, don't ever feel jealous, because the moment you start feeling jealous about somebody else who's pursuing another career, you are going off track. Most of the time, you are spending your brain, your mind, thinking of what that fellow will be doing. You lose focus. So competition is healthy. At the same time, you always need to be friendly with your colleagues, with your peers, because by being friendly and appreciating another artist's work, another photographer's work, you learn a lot. I have learned a lot by, I have never gone to any formal school to learn photography. It's all been on the field. I have learned from my fellow friends, photographers. You see a good photograph, good picture, you ask him, how did you take this? What was that? I also took the same picture, but there's a difference. Why is mine like this and why is like yours better? They're happy to teach. We are all very happy to teach. Nobody who's passionate about what he's doing will say no to teaching. But if you are jealous, oh, that fellow's got that picture, I should, don't go and buy another bigger camera without learning how to take a picture. Okay. Your thoughts on this, Isha, on competition and jealousy, because they are two key things which are seen today in most of the fields.
Yeah, as you rightly said, sir, this is there in all the fields. So it is irrespective of being unconventional career or the mainstream career. I think it's there even in corporates, it's there everywhere. So the best thing, I think, wherever we try getting into a different career option, or even while we are doing whatever we are doing, there's a flow. And I personally follow that kind of a flow because when I had started my career, I always had this flow in mind that first I should know what I want to do. So just to give you my life example, I think that will explain it a little. So I had done my graduation in BSc Biotechnology, Genetics and Biochemistry. So that was my graduation degree. While I was doing my graduation in biotechnology, genetics, and biochemistry, I was simultaneously working as a management trainee in my college. And due to that, I understood that I was also passionate about multiple other things, which I never knew because I didn't get an opportunity to explore myself. I didn't know what I was good at. I was always pushed for science and I was coding good. So my parents were happy sending me for higher studies into something which is a more conventional method of or mode of education. Uh, so while I was almost on my final semesters of my graduation, I realized that probably I wouldn't want to do a master's in science, but I want to take up management, because I was enjoying doing the management trainee work while I was working in my college as a management trainee. So then I had taken up this opportunity, and I completed my MBA. And when I was doing, and even before starting doing the MBA, I had done a thorough study of what are the options or where can I. So MBA also can be done in multiple fields. So which field should I go into? Where is my interest area? That also I had to learn, because I didn't have anyone who could guide me instantly. I had to read through multiple articles, or had to search online what are the available articles, where get to connect to people who have done or who have shifted from something similar, from a science background to a commerce background, and how was it. Post that, when I moved to when I completed my MBA, so I had done my MBA in HR and marketing. So that was a dual specialization that I had done. And so even after completing my dual specialization, there again I had a choice at the end of my final semester. When I take up my career, do I want to start it with marketing, or do I want to go into HR? So again, the first thing that I did was to understand and to explore. So explore online, read books, connect with people, get to know, from people. So get an understanding, and you yourself realize what are you good at, or where is your strength area, and you take up and you finalize on that, because to finalize on a topic is also a very big decision, because that decision you're making for your life, you're making for your career. So that is the first step. The next step, I think, should be like reaching out. So there are multiple people in the industry who are already in on the similar industry that you are planning to join. So reach out to those people. If you know someone, it's well and good. You can reach out to them. You can get to learn from them. So for example, if someone today is interested in photography, they can, and if they know Ravi sir, they would definitely connect with Ravi sir, and they would want to learn and want to know, because he is there, he is experienced in that field. He would be able to give a better understanding of how it works actually. It looks, all the careers looks very flowery in the theory, but what exactly is the practical part of it, and how does it work in reality is, it's almost a contrast, I would say. So it's always better to get a complete perspective before jumping into a conclusion.
Exactly. Yeah, what you say is right. We have to reach out and
Yeah.
different people how they work. Of course, now I would also like to tell the youngsters who are watching us and listening to us, anything that you do, your mainstream, your regular career, there are going to be ups and downs. Nothing is going to be smooth. This is not a smooth flowing. This is an ocean which is turbulent. We should be strong enough to hold on when we are in the low and not get too excited when we are on a high. Both these two emotions are not good for the heart. So always, keep a peaceful and as Darshan said, keep yourself fit, keep running so your mind and heart will be quite stable. So we don't have to really get worried or depressed if you are on a low, or don't get too excited because the heart can also misfire if you're too excited. So always, balance is very important, and there are going to be disappointments, which is part of every aspect of life. So one should be able to, just to tell a quick thing, we should always try to convert a disappointment into something that is happy. In 2016, when I went to Kenya, and I landed in Nairobi, and then I had my camera bag. So there was this over enthusiastic chap who came to pick me up, a local Kenyan who was part of my team. And I just gave him my camera bag because he was trying to help me. I thought I was carrying for a long time. I thought my camera bag weighs about 18 kilos. So I gave him. He just took the bag and put it down. My heart sank, and I knew something had gone wrong. The next morning, when I connected, my long lens did not work. It had gone. So the whole trip, without my long lens, nothing works. I was handicapped. So I didn't need to, I got a little disappointed, a little depressed, but I didn't take it through the tour. So the next 5 days while on the tour, I said, forget photography. This tour, let me just enjoy. I just saw with my eyes through the viewfinder. I saw it with my own eyes. I heard a lot of sounds. I could get a lot of smell. It was a different experience. And happily, those 5 days I spent with a good Tusker beer. So always you need to convert your disappointments to something positive. What's your thought on this, Jinsu?
See, disappointments are actually my key to success, I would say, because every time I get disappointed, I realize that, okay, I can do better. Like I can make me feel myself better. So I work towards that, especially when I started my photography just as a hobby to photograph people in front of us and like office mates and all. So then in our own circle, we started a magazine, and I had an opportunity to work with the magazine, and it's been running quite good. So it changed a lot of things. So every time I start going for events and photograph the people, I didn't know. I had no idea if that is the exact thing I should be doing. So you don't actually, we may not be, like Isha was saying, we should be able to analyze what is possible and what is not possible, and make the right, consider everything and balance it out. But sometimes we may not be able to do it because of all the disappointments happen. We may not be able to click the exact picture we wanted to click. We may not be able to work with the right people whom we want to work with. So disappointments is actually a setback for the next of your thing. So you can actually multiple options in front of them. Like you said, you enjoyed the whole trip. So when I'm not able to work with somebody, I find a replacement. Maybe that works better than that. So I have to work around a lot of things to actually fit that person into my picture, because I do a lot of fashion editorials. So I had to it's all staged photo shoot. So I could actually manipulate a lot of things. So this, whenever I'm getting disappointed, I take a break and think about it, where and why it went that way, and try to fix it in a better way. So for me, it's an
When we have
opportunity.
a problem, spend little time in brooding over the problem and spend more time finding a solution.
Yeah.
I have a question from one of our viewers asking if the hobbies can be converted into a monetary aspect. Yes, too, if you have a plan.
Yeah.
Have a plan, have a proper roadmap, bring in all the pros and cons. Yeah, I have another question also. Before that, everything has to be planned. You need to have a full plan. Look at the pros and cons. Think what the exigencies could be, what the problems that you would anticipate. Those just don't ask your father, go buy an expensive camera, go to Tanzania or Uganda and become a. It doesn't happen that way. As we as we told in the beginning also, it requires planning, it requires education, it requires experience, and you also learn along the way.
You
And
should learn
definitely,
along the way. Yeah.
monetary gratification is not immediate, but yes, if you're
It will
committed,
come to you.
mind and heart are on the same track. If you're dedicated, sincere, you're doing your job rightly, it will come back. And if somebody wants to start an alternative career, what is the plunge I should take is the question. Well, you need to ask that question yourself. First of all, you understand what you're interested in. Are you interested in singing? You want to take music as a career? Just because you like somebody playing the guitar and you like, Scorpions music, you can't become a musician. It doesn't work that way. It has to come from within. Once you understand and you plan, talk to people who are musicians.
Yeah.
Understand what are the flip sides to this. Everybody has a sad story. If you ask me, I'll tell you so many sad stories. You'll not become a wildlife photographer. But you will give you the small bits and pieces. But then that's the reality. If you're still ready with all this reality and ready to face, go ahead. Yes, why not? Take a plunge.
I think
See, swimming, you have to get into the pool. You can't learn swimming on YouTube. Get into the pool, and then that's how you learn swimming. Mr. Pai, your thoughts on somebody taking a plunge into alternative career?
Can you repeat the question, please? What your thoughts on?
If I'm interested in alternative career, can I take a plunge into it? Can I dive into it?
Yeah, no, I agree with you that it has to be with a plan. Basically, one is passion, but then the passion, whether it can be a profession, there is quite a journey, and I think that came out from what different panelists have spoken. So it has to be done with great thought. So firstly, one has to have the talent. I think that also came out, and then one has to be able to monetize that talent, and all of this happens over a period of time. So just by having a passion or a hobby, we can't really start pursuing that as a profession. So passion to profession, I believe it's somewhat similar to what happens even with formal professions, where you go through courses, you go through internships. Here, it may not be as well defined, but then that kind of maturation process is required.
Very rightly said. Passion was at 3:15 when we started. Now it's more reality. 4 o'clock, it's we're talking of more reality rather than passion. But yes, passion and everything together. Yes, why not? I think Jinsen has to wants to say something on this point. Jinsen.
Yeah. So the passion thing, it's all about your passion, like how you take it and like how you judge it the next minute of your life. Everything is like depend on your passion from inside. So when you pick up an alternative profession, it is not a profession at the for the first few years or whenever you actually realize it. It's not a profession. It could be a hobby or something you're practicing it. The only thing you can do is practice the passion out of it. So keep practicing it and you master it. So there we need passion. So we talked about disappointment and we talked about jealousy. All these can be covered when you have a passion onto it. So when you feel jealous, when you feel disappointed, the passion, if there is, you have core interest into this, you will actually overcome this because your focus is somewhere else, not to feel jealousy or not to feel disappointment. I think that explains.
Here we need to, keep. Yeah, sorry, Isha, sorry.
No, I was just saying that sometimes back you were saying about jealousy. So, I had learned this from my mentors that when you teach someone, you learn even more. So
Exactly.
So that is something when you teach, you get to know where even you lack somewhere and you get to master that part too. So it is never knowledge and skills are something which never reduces if you share, it always increases. So it increases multifolds. So it's always better that you seek help and the others should also help it out. And there's nothing wrong. So you are not sharing your, IPR, you are just sharing the knowledge. So it's always a good thing that you share. And also competition is something which when healthy, it leads to growth. But when it becomes unhealthy, it leads to devastation. And so I always believe one thing, that I should always learn from others, and I should not compete with others saying that, okay, if that person has, so a very simple example, if that person has scored higher than me, then, I'm jealous of that person. I can feel that, okay, that person has scored higher than me. Probably I can improve my score the next time. I should compete with myself. What I was yesterday, am I a better person or have I learned something more today? Or do I have a plan to learn something more than in the next coming days? I think that is something which should, be there. And if we practice that on a regular basis, the jealousy part would not actually come in. And I think once jealousy, seeps in, it just ruins the entire, the professionalism loses its essence.
Yeah, coming to jealousy, jealousy is actually a very inborn talent. You can't really get rid of it. If it is somewhere deep seated, you can't get rid of it. See, we talk of the shoulders. The shoulders are to carry weight, to carry luggage, right? So we have two shoulders. The right shoulder, I use it to rub shoulders with the right people, good people. The left shoulder, I use it to dust off people who are jealous. So, we go a long way. Somebody has a question here, a very interesting question. What is the right age for us to get into whatever this can? My dear friend, I don't know whether it's a boy or a girl who's asked this question. My dear friend, my young friend, are we doing the right things at the right age at any time in our life. We have never done anything. What we used to think when I was a 25-year-old, I used to think and dream, the 15 years are doing today. 15-year-olds are doing today. So there's nothing age related. I started photography 9 years back when I was 43 years. Serious photography when I was 43 years. Maybe the person who was asking this question must be half the age. And I'm 52 today. I'm still young. So age is just a number. Like all these people say, age is just a number. If it is there, if your mind is working fine, if you are sane, you want to do something, just like the Nike thing, just do it. Age and all don't bother. If you feel young at heart, do it. Even at 60, you want to fall in love, go ahead, fall in love. There's no age. 15 year, 20 year cannot fall in love. 60, you have better chance of falling in love. So don't think of age. Age is just a number.
We would like to add here.
Yeah, Darshan wants to talk something about the age, I think.
Yes, I asked my father when he was 74 years old. I asked him, Papa, do you want to come running with me? He said, are you serious? I said, why don't you try? So I checked with my coach whether my dad can pursue running marathon. Trust me, at the age of 74. So my coach said, okay, Darshan, here is one thing. Let him come for few sessions. Don't push him. Let him start the session. He came for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. He started enjoying it so much. At the age of 79, he completed a marathon last year, which is a distance of 42.2 kilometers. So friends, I'm telling you, you can pursue anything that you like at any age. So to pursue something new, what is important here? I always look for a guru. So there should be somebody like what Isha mentioned. To look for a mentor. Okay, mentor or guru is what we call. So when there is a guru who has achieved something, who has mastered that skill, he will be able to give you the learnings so easily. What would take you 100 years, from him you will learn it in 2 months. So pursue that learning passion. Then as you gradually grow into it, you will find out your own ways to what is the revenue model there. You
So
will
very
know
true.
once you are pursuing your passion, then over a period of time you will know what are all the loopholes, what are all the additional things that are required to pursue the passion. So you will find yourself a revenue model too.
Yeah, thanks, Darshan. Very true. The age is just a number and you can do anything. I have one question here by one of our young viewers who is asking, are there any funding agencies, angel funding? Unfortunately, nobody will fund you unless you are something. That's how the whole system works today, unfortunately. But initially, you will need some funding. Your parents as the best funding agents, your guardians. But splurge too much. Don't tax them too much. Start off with basic, and along the way, you can start being innovative. You can start trying to bring revenue into the whole system, and you can fund yourself. So there are no funding agencies, unfortunately, as of now that I know of, because if I want to buy a lens, nobody will come to me today. But initially, you need some kind of funding, and your own kith and kin can help you with that. But along the way, don't tax them anymore. You'll have to start earning, deliver pizzas, earn some money, and buy your stuff. As simple as that. Jensen.
Yeah, but see, when we talk about funding and alternative profession together, so I think somebody wants to know if there is anybody who funds these kind of ideas. So it depends on the context, what you are trying to build or where you are trying to change your career into. So there are a lot of funding agencies and a lot of angel investors are around, and a lot of startup communities are there. So you can't ask them to fund the day you think about switching your careers. You have to build it and make it as a project or whatever, explore all these things. And then if your aim is to get funded, you can definitely do it. But
Definitely, you need to go with, you need to go with a proposal. You need to what you want to do and convince them that you can do this. And then, people might be interested. But yes, it all happens along the way.
It should happen along the way. Yeah. But that should not be a primary target when you actually think about alternate profession.
Yeah, Deepika,
Deepika has-
anything from your side?
Yeah.
Over to
Please
you,
go ahead.
Deepika.
Sorry?
Questions? Do you have any more questions?
No, sir. No, sir. Good, good.
Good.
So are we still having any more questions to be answered, sir?
Well, whatever questions that I got, we kind of answered, and
Great. So I think our youth are still thinking, and what more interesting things they can ask you. They're excited, and so much of motivation you have put in them, and you have told them, you have to be dedicated, devoted. Nothing is impossible. There is never a wrong time. Age is not a number. We can always pick it up, and it's just about the passion, as Jensen says. It's all about the passion. Completely agree. So thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Ravi, the moderator. What a beautifully moderated show. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, panelists, for being there and making this session so eventful. It was beautiful.